Hey, what's up, guys? Hopefully you can hear me. Somebody go into the chat and tell me if you can hear me. We're going to be putting the suspension back on this bike today. I'm going to go ahead and pull the triple clamps off and lube up the steering head bearings while I'm this far into it. Let's get started. Ask any questions you have about the 2021 season in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer them. This is a 14. So 17. All right, thank you, Emma. Sorry for the dull fan noise in the background. It's 30-something degrees here in Ohio, and I have this little heater going next to me. Millimeter. If any of you guys out there have somewhere around a 2018 model year KTM, do you have a phantom issue where if your bike sits for, a week or two, it gets air in the front brake? I've been having this issue for, I don't know, about a year. I think I'm going to rebuild the master cylinder while I have some time. Not the proper way to do that. The lube I put in this, the grease, about 2 years ago when I got this bike. Still there, still looking pretty good. Doesn't look like it got any water in there, so that's good. Take a look at the bottom race. That looks pretty much perfect. Hopefully the top's the same way. We'll just throw some fresh lube in here and put it back together. That bearing looks good. Grease is definitely dark. It's definitely time to get some fresh stuff in here. This one's pretty good as well. Get as much of the old grease out of here as I can. It's done a good job, but time to let the new grease take over. No questions about the 2021 season yet? All right, how about this? Who's excited for Supercross tonight? H1. That's new. Starting in Houston instead of Anaheim. What do we think? Tomac have it in him to go back to back this year? We saw Cooper Webb do really well at Salt Lake back-to-back rounds at the end of the 2020 season. Did the best out of anybody in those rounds. The whole season's going to be like that. It's going to be crazy. If you're not coming into the season prepared, you don't have any time to catch up. That's how my season's going to be too. So we got to get going here. This is just regular waterproof grease, marine grease. Just got it up at the car store. Oh, yeah. No problems here. Make sure everything's nice and clean. One little speck of dirt can do a lot of damage to these bearings. Get as much grease in these as I can. Make them last another almost 100 hours. Head over to the chat and talk to me. What do you want to hear about? All right. Sure all the wires are where they should be. Oh boy. The O-ring I need is over there. It's dropping everything today. Hi, Owen. Hi, buddy. Owen's my son. You know, I was thinking about putting the O-ring and the little nut over here. And I was like, it'll be fine. It wasn't fine. snug that up just a little bit. My forks and shock got fresh oil. Hence the need to put the suspension back on. Now there is a torque spec for these bolts here. It is important. I'm not the best rider by any means, but I could tell the difference when I went from over torqued pinch bolts to properly torqued pinch bolts, especially on a flat track bike. Oh boy. There we go. The KTMs have these nice little height indication lines. I run about the second one. These don't need a lot of torque. I think the torque spec is I don't remember off the top of my head. It's not much. It's something in the range of inch pounds, I believe. Maybe a few foot pounds. That's going to allow me to tighten up my fork caps. We managed to get them pretty tight with greasy hands and no bike to put them in. Surprising. All right. I got to loosen the top one back up. So I can tighten the triple clamp here. the end of my throttle cable, the outer sleeve that the cable runs through, broke. I have to see how much one of those or one of the throttle cables for this bike is and see if it's worth replacing or not. It doesn't feel too bad. Just have to keep an eye on it. Man. Little trick here. Brake cleaner makes your little rubber pieces slide back together pretty nicely and easily. Little trick I learned from the guy who set up the suspension on my flat track bike. If you don't mind replacing your steering head bearings a little bit more often, you don't necessarily need a steering damper. First time I rode the flat track bike with that suspension on it, I had horrible head shake. Came in, said, "Hey, we didn't change anything other than the suspension on this bike. What's the deal?" He said, "Bring it over. Let me show you." Cranked on that steering head bearing. Haven't had a bad head shake since. On an enduro bike, it's not that important. I'm not fast enough to get bad head shake in the woods. But when you're on a connector road or something, trying to make up that little bit of time, it's nice to know that the bike isn't going to start bucking around trying to hurt you. That's one fork tube in. Get the forks up to the same level. Make sure the axle's not at some weird cockeye angle. All right. Slide the fork legs in. Cap nice and tight. Double check. All right. Get some anti-seize on these bar mounts. These KTMs have 4 bar positions. It's it's an asymmetric clamp, so it has a forward side and a back side, and then there's 2 bolt holes on the top triple clamp, so you can have, you're in the forwardmost hole and the bar's forward. You flip it around, forward hole, back. That's your forward center position. Back bolt hole, forward bar. It's your back middle position, and then you're all the way back position. I run the back bolt hole, forward bar, so I have the third position there, the slightly further back center bar. Get these wires back in the little holder. Got a question here. You shortened those bars. Yes, I did. There we go. I run my bars at about 30 inches plus the width of the bark buster here. Once I get it all back together, I'll let you guys know what that full width is. Yes, there's a torque spec for almost every bolt on this bike, on almost any bike you get. I'm going to be working to mechanic torque, which is leaving it up to the mechanic and the mechanic's experience to have the proper torque. Bars are back on. Go ahead and throw this little dinky little bar pad KTM gives you back on. Probably better than nothing. Probably. Again, while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and replace the grips. These have been on here for 2 years, so the stock grips. Still a little bit worn out. I do have new chain and sprockets for this bike as well. I'm going to hold off as long as I can on changing those, since any riding that's going to happen in the next couple months here in Ohio is going to be in the rain, snow, mud, everything that kills chain and sprockets. So I don't want to waste a new set of chain and sprockets for that. These are some nice ODI lock-ons. Same as the stock grip, but with an open end, so you don't have to cut or Dremel, in the case of lock-ons, the end out for your handguard. Some people love these, some people hate them. I personally love the lock-ons. You don't need to bother with safety wire and all that nonsense. And changing them is easy. Loosen the little clamp bolt on the old one. Slide it off. Slide the new one on, you're good to go. You can see my little Dremel hack job here. Cutting the end out on the sock grips. Just clean under the old grip before putting the new ones on. Nice new grip on that side. Throttle side's a little bit more complicated. The throttle side has this octagon here, and it comes with 3 different cams for your throttle cable. So I'm not sure which one is in this bike. But we're going to find out. And we'll use the same one. A lot of stuff has been sucked into the throttle housing here. I'm going to use the same cam that's on the stock lock-on grip here. I'm going to verify that the one that came with the new set of grips is the same profile. Just hold them up to each other and use that one. I'm also going to clean these out. There's a bunch of crap that got sucked in here. That's not good for a throttle cable. So you can see also they're the same brand. The stock KTM grips are ODIs as well. So we can look at the part number even here. And you can hold them up and see that these two are the same. So I'm going to go ahead and use the new one and toss out the old one. I should also mention that these are only partly waffled. That's what they call this raised piece here on the grip. So I like the waffle to be down, which is how this grip is set up with the cam. So I'm just going to compare the two, get the two grips in the same place, get the cam in the same place. Snap that guy on and we're good to go. Waffles will be down when it's all put back together. Just using some brake cleaner to get all this crap out of here. and some paper towels. If you had a parts washer, you could also use parts washer. With brake cleaner, you have to be real careful what you use it on. It will etch some plastics, especially clear plastics like the windscreen on a road race bike, for instance. It's put away right now, but my old windscreen for the 400 Ninja here had that happen to that. I'm actually going to get a nice hot soapy bucket of water to clean these. That might work a little bit better. I can let them soak a little bit then. I'll be right back. I'm being a little picky about this too. You don't necessarily need to do this. There's quite a lot of stuff in these. This bike's been ridden in a lot of very wet situations, so I've only had to change the air filter twice due to dust, like a really dusty ride or race. So that kind of gives you an idea in the about 80-85 hours this bike has on it, what it's gone through. Lots and lots of rear brake pads. Just use an old toothbrush. Get down in there. All right, I'm gonna let those soak for a little while. While those soak, I'm gonna get started on the rear end of the bike here. I'm gonna go ahead and never seize these shock bolts as well. Looks like they have the remnants of some Loctite on them from the factory. As long as the bolt's properly torqued, it shouldn't come loose. I think we'll be okay. There we go. So what I was doing there was just checking that the bearing that's in the top of the shock and the bearing at the lower PDS mount here, both of those are good, and the swing arm bearing is good. Same method you'd use to check if your linkage bearings or shock bearings on a linkage bike were going bad or were bad. You just hold the bike as still as possible. Try and move the swing arm if you feel a little movement or clicks. Clicks, you probably should get on that, getting that taken care of. But in this case, they're good. I am keeping a pretty close eye on this this PDS bearing there. It's a common point of wear on these bikes. I'm just cleaning up some of the grease from prior wheel changes, tire changes. I do run this little billet aluminum rear disc guard. To tell you the truth, I have only ridden the bike once or twice without it, but it's not that expensive to save you from ruining a race or a ride with a bent rear rotor. So I recommend putting those on for any sort of single track off the beaten path riding, especially anywhere with rocks. I'm going to run something past you guys. I know a couple of you guys here are Northeast Ohio. You guys are talking to me in the chat. And I grew up in Northeast Ohio, based here, obviously. What would you guys think about doing a cookout at one of the Western Reserve flat track races this year? COVID permitting, obviously. But come down, check out some flat track racing, hang out. I could bring a grill up some hot dogs, hamburgers, drink some beers if you're into that after the races. You guys can drink during the races if you're not racing. Sturd says I'm in. I think the club would let us do that. I think we can bring a decent number of people in there. It's in years past, at least, it's been $10 a person at the gate. For the longest time, it was free if you rode a bike down there. Free to get in. I'm not sure if they're back to that or what the deal is. I haven't seen their schedule for this year, but the Best of Ohio Summer Series, the Boss Series, put out a schedule this week that shows June 6th. It was the weekend before Father's Day, I believe, or 2 weekends before, that there's a race there at Western Reserve. Still $5 for bikes. Thank you. So we'll definitely get that scheduled. That June 1, weather should be gorgeous. Come out, have some fun. We'll work on that. I got this tube of grease because the store I was at, and I really needed grease, didn't have any of the tubs. That was a mistake. It is a pain in the butt. I have a new tub, but I'm not going to throw out this perfectly good grease. I did have one of these axle nuts, the stock axle nut. Go and get seized onto the axle. Had to heat it up, put it in a vise to get it apart. I've since put one of these Tusk, not a sponsor, just good product. Nylock. You see it's got the little nylon locking band there. Nuts on here. With some Never Seas. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. There we go. A little axle block didn't want to line up right. All right, take a break here for a second. I've seen some questions posted in a couple groups on Facebook asking about over the glasses goggles. I struggled with this for a long time. I was sponsored by a major goggle company for years, and they discontinued their over the glasses goggles lineup, and I just couldn't find anything that really fit well and sealed. So in the woods on a not dusty day, it wasn't bad, but on a dusty day on the flat track, I'd come in, my eyes just searing pain from all the dust. So I discontinued my relationship with that manufacturer, decided to take a risk, got some of these Liat goggles, tried them out. They're the best goggles I've worn in years. The foam is replaceable. I think all of us that ride know the foam is the first thing that goes on goggles. It always peels off, doesn't seal right. It's replaceable on these. I run these Johnny Walker Enduro lenses, so they're a dual pane lens with that vent, that brow vent. Still gets warm, but it doesn't fog hardly at all. I've partnered with Liat now. For last year was my first year with them. This will be my second year. And all the product I have from Liat has been great. The 5.5 boots, I think these are 5.5s, are great. I got these before their enduro specific boot came out. So those are the motocross boots, but they're phenomenal. Much better than the boots I had before those from another major manufacturer. So just a little shout out there to Liat for helping me out and coming back on board for 2021. It's going to be a great year. All right, the shock is on, the wheel is on, everything's tight back there. See how these housings are cleaning up. Give those a little more time in there. Some of you guys have probably seen that the van didn't happen. I test drove a van a Sprinter that was high mileage, which made it be in budget. And it basically, the whole front suspension needed to be redone. The wheel bearings needed to be checked out. It was just going to be way too much for the budget I'm on. Not to mention, it was falling apart rusty. So I had also been keeping my eyes open for a decent pickup truck. My dad has an enclosed trailer we've used for years that he said I could use. I just needed something to haul it. So I found an amazing deal on an F-150. It's a 2011 EcoBoost. I'll do a video on that sometime coming up. So the plan right now is to use my dad's trailer for at least the beginning of the season, first few trips, first few races at least, until I can get my own trailer, get it set up with living quarters and a garage area as well, like we were going to do with the van. But super stoked to get that going. Huge shout out to Swift Kicker. Go check them out, swiftkicker.net. I believe they still have a demo kickstand for sale for a pretty good discount. So go over there, check them out. Check them out on Facebook. Send them a message if you're interested, and they'll hook you up. At the races this year, I'll have the Swift Kickers on my bike, on both this bike for the enduros, hard enduros, and my Hare Scramble motocross bike. Probably have to take it off for the motocross, but it'll be there. Come check it out. I'll try and get some demo or display units and a pricing guide from them. So if you are interested and you're out at one of the races I'm at, come check it out. I might even be able to sell you one if I have one. So shout out to them. They helped out hugely with the truck, which is going to be obviously a major piece of this season coming together and working how I think we all want it to. I've gotten some messages in the last few days, Facebook messages, texts, for those of you who know me in my personal life, asking for a schedule. Long story short, I only have 3 or 4 of the organization schedules, if that, for 2021. So I want to put out a schedule. I want to tell you guys where I'm going to be. The only race I know for sure I'm going to be at right now is the Big Buck GNCC at the end of February in South Carolina. And honestly, even that is a little bit up in the air depending on how this COVID thing goes. The industry assumption is that the organizers are holding off on releasing their schedules, making that big financial commitment, time commitment, until they know what the new president is going to do. If we're going to shut everything down again, or if we're going to be able to kind of continue sort of like we were at the end of the 2020 season with no spectators or very, very limited spectators, limited people in the pits. We'll just have to wait and find out. We should know that in the next couple weeks. So hopefully we get some more schedules in the next couple weeks. I can put together a calendar and let you guys know what the plan is. I am not a big fan of the KTM wheel spacer that goes inside the bearing design. As an engineer, there's so many questions why anybody would design a wheel spacer, wheel bearing combo the way that they have. But it is what it is. We're finally seeing some of the Japanese manufacturers at least think about catering a bike to the off-road, single-track, enduro market that's like a real competitor, I want to say, to the KTMs. The big 4-strokes, or even 250 4-strokes, with some tweaks, are still a motocross bike. And a 250 4-stroke motocross bike, ask me, I know. My hair scramble bike is a motocross bike. YZ250F. They work okay for those like GNCCs, hair scrambles, woods courses that are more open. But the 4-strokes get too hot. They hot stall in tight, nasty single track like you get in enduros. So you're finally seeing some of the Japanese manufacturers at least make an attempt at starting to cater to the to us, to the single track riders that love the tight, nasty trails. So, you know, until one of those Japanese manufacturers comes out with a bike that works as well as these KTMs do, even with their flaws and their strange designs, I'm going to keep running them. I had mentioned that I was having some front brake issues getting air in the line if it sat, and it's just been getting worse. So I'm not going to fully install the front brake right now. I'm probably going to pull it off at some point here and rebuild the front brake master cylinder. So you won't see that part of the assembly, but it'll get done before I ride it, I promise. When you compress the forks a little bit when you're putting the front wheel on, it straightens up the axle and makes it have a little bit less stiction to make sure everything's really well in line when you do up those pinch bolts. Makes the forks work a little bit better. Make sure all the axes are lined up that need to be. Everything's parallel that should be, everything's perpendicular that should be, all that stuff. I do run these little plastic fork shoes, I think they're called. Again, it's like the rear brake guard there, just a little bit of extra protection to limit the days you lose or races you lose to mechanical failure. They don't weigh much. It's a little piece of mind, I guess, is what it comes down to. Again, there's a torque spec on these. Like the pinch bolts up here, it's not as much as you think it is. You don't have to break out the impact wrench or pretend you're Mr. Strongman when you're torquing these down. I mean, just to put some perspective on it, I'm not super strong or anything, and I'm using this little 1/4 inch short handle ratchet for these. And I'm not wrenching on it, cranking it. I do run a plastic disc guard up front as well, just kind of the standard disc guard you're thinking of. I don't run a billet one. I don't see the need to for what I do. If all I did was hard enduros, I'd have one on in a heartbeat. What is going on here? plastic kind of mushroomed, and it's not letting this little metal spacer sit in where it needs to, so that the bolt tightens up on the metal and not on the plastic. I'm just opening up the hole again. So that this metal piece can sit in here. There we go. So this is the front of the shoe. This is where the pinch bolts are. This is actually a mount. This pinch bolt serves as a mount for the guard here. This little metal piece fits in back here. Right in like that. So that it pinches the metal. Put the drill away. The axle final torque. let's see how the throttle housing is doing. I could probably sit here and watch these all day, but and get them perfect. But at some point, you just got to say, that's clean enough. And you can, I don't know if you can see super well in there, but they're a lot cleaner than they were. And that's what we were aiming for. Alrighty. Throttle cable through. Alrighty. Do a little trick again. New grips are installed. I'm not going to put the seat back on and the side panels yet. I have a new grippy seat cover I'm going to be putting on. I'll show you guys that. I also got a radiator fan for the hard enduros. New seat's going to look a little something like that. It's got this nice diamond pattern and the ribs for added grip. I didn't have a torn stock seat cover or anything that required replacing. It's just one of those things you notice as you put time on a bike that you like or don't like. And as soon as the stock seat cover would get damp, it would get slippery. And I've fallen on many a hill because I just couldn't hold myself up on the bike, up where I needed to be, put the power to the ground. So I'll be installing those later. If you guys like this, I'll do another live stream. So let me know what you guys think, either in the chat here or back over on the Facebook page. I'm going to have to bend this back before I put these on. Doesn't want to line up right. This should be straight from here to here. Obviously, it's not. These are pretty old handguards. They were on another bike before I even got this bike. And I've switched them over, put them on this bike. So I can tell you this, they weren't like that when they went on this bike. And we'll have to bend it back before they go back on. This one I think I can go ahead and put back on. These are just the Cherubies full full aluminum handguards, wraparound handguards. I do not like the flag style. They just have the plastic that come out and they don't connect back to the bar over here. Every time I've used them, I've smashed my fingers anyway. They just bend out of the way. That being said, they have their uses for me. I have a set for my flat track bike for cushion tracks, for P-gravel tracks. That they work for. Good against little rocks being thrown at you, not good against trees. So the idea is to get this as snug up against the bar as you can, crank her down, and then tighten up these bolts towards the center of the bar. I think I'm going to angle it down a little bit more. Just personal preference. Give myself a little bit more protection on the end of the brake lever here as well. I think I know where the other one got bent. A few years ago, a couple of years ago. It was right after I got this bike. My buddy and I went down to Georgia and did the American Hard Enduro Groundhog Hard Enduro down there at Rock Crusher Farm. And I fell about 1,000,000 times on the one lap I managed to do. And even with these handguards on, I fell so many times that these plastic pieces were just obliterated, and I broke both my clutch and my brake lever off. And I think one of those times falling down the hill must have hit this side hard enough that it bent this big extruded piece of aluminum. But that's just a testament to how strong these are. Just a reminder, this is a shirt here hanging up on the wall. They are $30 a shirt. and $8.50 per order for shipping. A lot of you guys have reached out and purchased a shirt to support me and this whole plan here, and I can't even express to you how much that means to me. You guys are awesome. Those of you who donated some money on top of that, wow, thank you guys. Like, I was not expecting that at all, so thank you so much. If you haven't gotten a shirt, or if you like your shirt so much you want another one, let me know. Message me here on YouTube, over on the 5-8 Racing Facebook page, and I'll get you the info there and get one sent out to you. I think that's as far as I'm going to get on this today. It's getting close to dinner time, so we made good progress. I have a few things to do I knew I wasn't going to be able to do on this video, but good progress in getting this thing back together. Getting ready to get back out riding soon. So, see you guys at the track. See you in the next video. Thank you. Thanks for watching.